Happy day everybody, my name is Jeremy and this is BBQ Elementary. And today I'll be breaking down the best way I've been able to wrap my head around the basics of barbecue sauce. And I'll be showing you the system and vocabulary I'll be using to develop all kinds of recipes from here on out. Let's go. I've kind of always had a hard time diving into recipe development for sauces, partially because there are an infinite amount of ingredients to play with, and partially because I've never been introduced to a formula like the one I've been working on to give me a basic understanding of where to start and what actually goes into these sauces. Simply put, I hope this becomes or can become a guideline for myself and others to be able to understand the basic building blocks of barbecue sauces so that we'll all feel more confident to build our own recipes. To get started, let's talk about the 6 building blocks that make up the recipes for, dare I say, all barbecue sauces. Number 1, the base. This is the workhorse for your sauce. It provides the majority of the taste as well as texture, not to mention the total volume of your sauce is mostly made up of this step. Number 2, sweet. To keep balance, almost every barbecue sauce needs an element of sweetness. Sweetness doesn't just make the sauce taste good, it pulls all the other flavors together. It softens sharp vinegar tang, smooths out spice and heat, and gives your sauce that lip-smacking quality that makes people go back for more. This block is what tickles the tongue, creates intrigue, and leaves the palate satisfied. Whether it's brown sugar, honey, molasses, or even fruit, the sweet component is what rounds out the edges and brings harmony to the sauce. Number 3 is what I'll be calling Tang. Tang is where your sauce gets its brightness and lift. Without it, sauces can feel heavy or really plain. Vinegar, citrus juice, or even Worcestershire sauce can bring a pop of acidity that wakes up the palate and balances richness. Tang sharpens the edges, balances the sweetness, and keeps the flavors lively. Number 4, spice and heat. This block brings the fire and personality. Spices like paprika, chili powder, black pepper, garlic, and onion lay down the flavor while cayenne or hot peppers turn up the heat. Together they give your sauce energy, edge, and that little spark that makes barbecue exciting instead of flat. Number 5, depth. This step is for the salty and satisfying umami. It rounds out and gives the flavor, well, more depth. It's the smokiness, the richness, the savory backbone of the sauce. Without it, your sauce will be missing the low notes that helps your barbecue sing. Now that we've got the building blocks, let's talk ratios. Balance is what turns ingredients into a sauce, and this system gives us a solid starting point to build from. For the base, plan on 3 to 4 parts. In a full batch, that might be a couple of cups, but here in the lab, I'll scale it down to about 1/3 of a cup, enough to test without wasting ingredients. Sweet usually runs 1/4 to 1 part, depending on the style. In the lab, I'll use about a tablespoon or so. Sweet ingredients are mild, so you need a little volume to balance the sauce. For Tang, aim for 1 part. Normally that's around 1/4 cup, but for testing I'll use about 1.5 tablespoons. Spice also counts as about 1/4 part in the flavor framework. But these ingredients are very concentrated, so that's why you'll see me use about only a teaspoon or less in the lab dose, enough to give a kick without overpowering the sauce. The same thing goes with depth and umami. It's light, so about 1/4 to 1/2 part. In the lab, a teaspoon or so keeps it in check, adding richness without dominating. Now that we've got a solid handle on the basic building blocks, it's time to move on to the block that really lets you make these sauces your own, the accents. These are the little dashes, drizzles, and pinches that add personality, punch, and that signature twist. Everything from garlic and celery seed to bourbon, turmeric, or a splash of hot sauce. Think of accents as kind of your sauce's fingerprint. They don't really dominate, but they do make it unmistakably your own. Now that we've covered all the building blocks, I'm going to walk you through my own little sauce lab, where you'll see how swapping ingredients but sticking to the same framework keeps you organized and helps you develop all kinds of different sauces. And first up, we've got a classic Kansas City style barbecue sauce. This one's rich, a little bit sticky, and packed with that familiar sweet and savory flavor that everyone loves. We'll walk through the ingredients, show how each building block plays its part, and see how just a few simple tweaks can make it truly your own. For the base, we're keeping it classic with 1/3 of a cup of ketchup. The sweet is a tablespoon of brown sugar. The tang is a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. The spice is 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder and a pinch of cayenne pepper. For depth, I have a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce and 1/2 teaspoon of smoked paprika. And for the accent, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. For this test dose, all I really had to do was add all the ingredients together and then make sure they were all incorporated well. For bigger volumes, you'll probably want to simmer this one down to ensure smoothness, but because these labs are for creating flavor profiles, I wasn't too concerned with getting the texture right. Also, remember for accents, go wild, especially for these types of sauces. I love garlic, so that's why I used it, but you could add cinnamon, vanilla, or anything else to make Kansas City style sauces yours. For the next sauce, I'm doing something completely different, but you'll see how I'm still sticking to the template to guide me. It's Alabama white sauce, aka chicken's best friend. For the base, I'm going to use 1/3 cup of mayo. Trust me, it's not weird. For the sweet, 1/2 tablespoon of honey. For the tang, 2 tablespoons of cider vinegar and a teaspoon of lemon juice. For the spice, 1/2 teaspoon of horseradish plus a pinch of black pepper. For the umami, 1/2 teaspoon of Dijon mustard and a dash of Worcestershire sauce. And for the accent, a pinch of dill weed. Alabama white sauce got its start in northern Alabama, and it is a perfect companion to smoked or grilled chicken. This one is all about creamy tang, so make sure to use a whisk to break up any clumps and get it nice and smooth. And again, even though this looks like a completely different sauce, if you follow the rules of the 6 building blocks, you can use the same framework to develop almost any recipe. For the third sauce, I'm going to make a mustard-based sauce, and one that needs more love in my opinion. It's a Carolina Gold sauce, and if you haven't tried one, well, now's your chance. As I mentioned, this is going to be 1/4 cup of yellow mustard for the base. For the sweet, 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. For the tang, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. For the spice, 1/2 teaspoon of hot sauce. For the depth, 1/2 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. And for the accent, a pinch of turmeric and black pepper, which of course will help with the color as well as give it something really unique. With this Carolina Gold, you'll want to mix it thoroughly and let it rest a bit so the flavors have a chance to meld. This sauce is fantastic on pork and chicken, but honestly, I'll put it on just about anything. I really love this one typically. And of course, the color is real nice. Lastly, a very different one. It's a Carolina vinegar sauce, and though the ratios do change a little bit with this one, the categories still hold true. Let's dive in. For the base, we're actually going to use 1/2 cup of apple cider vinegar. For the sweet, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. For the tang, it's mostly carried over from the base, but I'll add a little bit of lemon juice just to kind of give it an extra layer. Then for the spice, 1/2 teaspoon of red pepper flakes and 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. For depth, 1/2 teaspoon of fish sauce. And for the accent, an onion powder pinch. Carolina vinegar sauce is so different from the others. It's really thin, it's sharp, and it's super tangy. It is perfect for pulled pork, and it's often used as a mop sauce while cooking to keep the meat moist and flavorful. And maybe you're getting tired of me saying this over and over again, but even though it looks and feels nothing like the other sauces, I was still able to wrap my head around its makeup in the same way as the other sauces. Lastly, to finish this one, simply close up your deli and give it a good shake. And there you have it, 4 very different sauces, all made using the same basic formula. From sweet and sticky to tangy and thin, this formula helps you stay organized while creating endless flavor variations. But this wouldn't be Barbecue Elementary if I didn't share a quick cold one with y'all while giving out some grades. Today I'll be simply testing each one and giving quick notes, then ranking them 1 to 4. Let's get started. The Kansas City style had a nice color and texture, and it was really well balanced with just a little oomph of garlic. This one is going to be a contender, I think. The Alabama white sauce was a little more runny, which I think is normal for this sauce, and it had a great horsey kick, which was quite nice, I gotta say. The Carolina Gold was just a beautiful color, and it did have a perfect consistency, I must say. It also had so much flavor, the turmeric really did something cool with this one. The Carolina vinegar also had a really nice color. I'm kind of wondering if I should adjust the sugar content to make it a little more viscous, but the flavor was great. It was obviously really punchy and bright, but I really enjoyed it. Finally, let's give them a rank. In first place is the Carolina Gold. This one was amazing, and maybe I'm just a little bit biased to mustard-based sauces, but it was really good, and I'll probably keep it as is when I decide to make it in bulk for a cook. Then in second place, we have the Kansas City style barbecue sauce with an essence of garlic. This is really an easy go-to sauce that I will also probably keep as is. In third place, the Alabama white sauce. This one was also really good, but I'll want to play around with it to kick up the heat, which means that in last place is the Carolina vinegar sauce, which I liked, but next time I'll really want to nail the consistency. And that's a wrap. Remember to use the general guidelines of the 6 building blocks to make your own fun and dialed sauces. I hope that this was helpful and makes things easier for you in the future. It certainly has helped me. And I know that this is a tool that I'll be using for quite a while. And as always, thanks a million for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't to follow me along on my adventures through Barbecue Elementary.